We carry a voice inside our heads every single day. That voice, sometimes it's kind, but more often than not, it's harsh, judgmental, and unforgiving. Imagine if for just 3 days you decided to change that voice. Imagine talking to yourself like you would to a dear friend who's struggling, without the blame or shame, and honesty, without the blame or shame. What would happen if for 3 days you became your own biggest supporter instead of your worst critic? What if instead of pointing out your flaws or mistakes, you acknowledged your efforts and your courage to keep going? Because here's the truth: the way we talk to ourselves shapes how we show up in the world. If you start these 3 days by saying, "I'm enough, even with my imperfections," you begin to rewrite the story you tell yourself. The way you talk to yourself isn't just background noise, it's the foundation of who you believe you are. Every thought you have about yourself, every word you say inwardly, builds the blueprint of your identity. When you wake up in the morning and the first thing you tell yourself is, "I'm not good enough," or "I'm going to mess this up," those words start to define your reality. They influence how you carry yourself, the choices you make, and the energy you bring to every interaction. Self-talk is this silent narrative running through your mind, and it has an incredible power to shape your sense of self. If your inner voice is critical, harsh, and unforgiving, over time you begin to internalize those messages. You start to see yourself through a lens of limitation, fear, and doubt. You become trapped in a story where your mistakes define you, where vulnerability is weakness, and where you have to constantly prove your worth. But here's the good news: self-talk can be changed, and when it changes, your identity can shift too. When you choose to speak kindly to yourself, when you affirm your strengths and acknowledge your growth, you begin to rewrite that internal script. You start to see yourself not as a fixed set of failures or flaws, but as a complex, evolving human being worthy of love and belonging. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a daily act of courage to interrupt those old negative patterns and replace them with messages of hope and possibility. When you do this, you give yourself permission to be vulnerable, to take risks, and to move forward even when you're scared. You begin to build a new identity grounded in self-compassion and resilience, one that reflects your true potential rather than your perceived limitations. In essence, the voice you use inside your head isn't just commentary, it's the architect of your life story. By choosing how you talk to yourself, you hold the power to create a life rooted in courage, belonging, and wholeheartedness. Your self-talk is the soil from which your identity grows, so nurture it with kindness and watch yourself bloom. Practicing empathy with yourself means treating your own experiences and emotions with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to someone you deeply care about. It's about stepping into your own shoes, not as a harsh judge, but as a compassionate witness. So often we are quick to point out where we've fallen short or what we've done wrong, but we rarely pause to recognize that we're navigating life's complexities as best we can with all the imperfections and struggles that come along. When you practice empathy with yourself, you begin by acknowledging your pain, your fear, your mistakes, not as signs of failure, but as parts of your humanity. Instead of saying, "I shouldn't feel this way," or "I messed up again," you pause and say, "This is hard. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. I'm struggling right now." That shift is profound because it moves you away from self-criticism and toward self-understanding. Empathy invites you to be present with your emotions rather than running from them or stuffing them down. It allows you to hold your feelings gently instead of trying to fix or deny them. This presence is a form of radical acceptance where you tell yourself, I see you, I'm here with you. It's an act of courage because it requires vulnerability, the willingness to lean into discomfort without judgment. When you show empathy toward yourself, you're also giving yourself permission to be imperfect. You're recognizing that growth doesn't come from beating yourself up, but from creating a safe inner space where healing and learning can happen. It means saying to yourself, it's okay to make mistakes. I am learning. I am enough, even when I'm not perfect. This practice builds resilience because it softens the harsh inner critic that often wears us down. It helps you cultivate a nurturing relationship with yourself where you can recover from setbacks without spiraling into shame or despair. Instead of isolating yourself in moments of difficulty, you become your own ally, your own source of comfort. Empathy with yourself is not indulgence or self-pity. It's a radical act of self-respect. It means treating yourself as worthy of care, attention, and kindness, regardless of what you've done or how you're feeling. And as you strengthen this relationship with yourself, you'll find your capacity to empathize with others deepens too, because when you know what it feels like to be held tenderly by your own heart, you become better at offering that same grace to the world around you. To truly embrace who we are, we must start by acknowledging our imperfections. Society often sells us a narrative that we have to be flawless, successful, and put together all the time, but that's simply not the human experience. Imperfection is not a glitch or a problem to fix. It's the very fabric of being alive. Every one of us carries wounds, doubts, mistakes, and vulnerabilities, and it's through these cracks that our true light often shines the brightest. When we acknowledge imperfection, we stop hiding from it or pretending it doesn't exist. Instead, we bring it into the light with honesty and courage. This is no small feat because our culture has trained us to fear imperfection, fear that it will make us less worthy, less lovable, less capable. But the truth is, our imperfections are not barriers to connection or success. They are the pathways. By naming and accepting our flaws, we open the door to self-compassion. It's a way of saying to ourselves, I see you, not just the parts that are easy or polished, but all of you. This kind of radical acceptance releases us from the exhausting pursuit of perfection, which is often a mask for deep shame or fear. It allows us to lean into our humanity with gentleness instead of judgment. Acknowledge imperfection also means embracing failure as a natural and necessary part of growth. When we make mistakes, it doesn't mean we are broken or unworthy. It means we are trying, learning, and evolving. Instead of hiding our failures or berating ourselves, we can choose to see them as teachers that guide us forward. This shift transforms how we relate to ourselves in moments of struggle, offering grace instead of guilt. There is profound freedom in embracing imperfection because it means we no longer have to carry the heavy burden of being enough only when we are perfect. We can show up fully with all our messiness, contradictions, and scars and still be deserving of love and belonging. In fact, it's often through our imperfections that we connect most deeply with others. Vulnerability, authenticity, and empathy grow from the soil of imperfection. So acknowledging imperfection isn't about resigning yourself to flaws or giving up. It's about reclaiming your power to be fully human. It's an invitation to live with courage, knowing that you are whole exactly as you are, even when you're not perfect. And that in itself is a radical act of love and liberation. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. In a world that prizes strength, control, and certainty, vulnerability can feel like a weakness, something to hide or protect against. But the truth is, vulnerability is one of the most powerful sources of strength we have. It's the birthplace of courage, connection, and profound growth. To use vulnerability as strength means to lean into the discomfort of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure instead of running away from it. It means showing up as your true self, even when there are no guarantees of acceptance or success. This kind of bravery requires us to step beyond our fear of judgment, rejection, or failure and say, "Here I am, imperfect and real." Vulnerability is strength because it demands honesty. It asks us to be clear about what we feel and need, to admit when we don't have all the answers, and to acknowledge our mistakes. This honesty is a radical act in a culture that often encourages masking our emotions or pretending to be invincible. When we choose vulnerability, we dismantle those masks and invite authenticity into our lives. Using vulnerability as strength also transforms our relationships. When we allow ourselves to be seen fully, our fears, hopes, and struggles, we create space for others to do the same. This mutual openness fosters trust and deepens connection in ways that superficial interactions never can. Vulnerability is the bridge that connects hearts and reminds us we are not alone in our experiences. There's also resilience that comes from vulnerability. When we embrace uncertainty rather than avoid it, we build the capacity to withstand life's inevitable challenges. Vulnerability teaches us that strength is not about controlling every outcome, but about being adaptable, open, and willing to learn from hardship. It invites us to approach life with curiosity rather than fear. Importantly, using vulnerability as strength doesn't mean oversharing indiscriminately or ignoring boundaries. It's about choosing when and how to be open in ways that are safe and nourishing for us. It's about honoring our own pace while daring to be seen. In essence, vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It is strength itself. It takes immense courage to embrace uncertainty, to be seen without armor, and to speak your truth even when it feels risky. And when you do, you step into a more wholehearted way of living, one where growth, connection, and self-acceptance are possible. So the next time you feel vulnerable, don't shrink away. Remember, you are standing in the very place where strength and courage meet. Lean into it and let vulnerability become your greatest power. Shame is one of the heaviest burdens we carry as human beings. It's that deep, gnawing feeling that there is something fundamentally wrong or unworthy about who we are. Shame whispers in our ear that we are not good enough, that our mistakes define us, and that if others truly knew us, they wouldn't accept us. It's isolating, silencing, and suffocating. And yet, so many of us carry it quietly, convinced that we must hide our imperfections or risk rejection. But what if, instead of drowning in shame, we learn to replace it with understanding? Understanding is a radical shift in how we relate to ourselves. It invites us to step back from harsh judgment and see our experiences through a lens of compassion and curiosity. Instead of saying, "I'm broken because I failed," understanding allows us to say, "I'm human and failure is part of learning and growing." Replacing shame with understanding means recognizing that our flaws and mistakes do not make us less worthy, they make us human. It means giving ourselves permission to be imperfect and acknowledging that everyone struggles, everyone stumbles, and everyone has moments they wish they could erase. This awareness softens the grip of shame because it reminds us that we are not alone and our struggles do not define our value. Understanding requires us to get curious about the stories we tell ourselves. When shame shows up, instead of accepting its harsh verdict, we pause and ask, where is this coming from? What am I really feeling? What do I need right now? This curiosity opens the door to healing because it shifts the conversation from blame to care. It creates space to explore the roots of our pain and to respond with kindness rather than condemnation. When we replace shame with understanding, we also open the possibility of forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing mistakes or avoiding responsibility. It means releasing the toxic cycle of self-punishment and choosing to treat ourselves with the same grace we would offer a friend in pain. This shift transforms how we show up in the world. When we carry understanding instead of shame, we are freer to take risks, to ask for help, and to connect authentically. We become less afraid of judgment because we have learned to accept ourselves fully, even when we are vulnerable. Replacing shame with understanding is a practice, not a one-time event. It requires patience and persistence, especially in moments when shame tries to pull us back into old patterns. But with each act of self-compassion, we weaken shame's power and strengthen our capacity for resilience and wholehearted living. In the end, choosing understanding over shame is an act of radical kindness to ourselves and to the deeper truth of who we are. It is an invitation to live not under the heavy shadow of judgment, but in the light of acceptance, growth, and love. Self-love is not just a feel-good idea or a fleeting moment of indulgence. It's a radical, ongoing practice that transforms the way we relate to ourselves and the world around us. To make self-love a daily practice means showing up for yourself every single day with intention, kindness, and care. It's about creating habits and rituals that honor your worth, your needs, and your growth, even on days when it feels hard or inconvenient. One of the most powerful aspects of making self-love daily is that it's a commitment, not a one-time event, but a continual choice to prioritize your own well-being. It's easy to love ourselves when everything is going well, but true self-love shines brightest when life is challenging, when doubts creep in, or when we stumble. Choosing self-love in those moments is an act of courage. It means looking at yourself with gentle eyes, saying, I'm here for you, and refusing to let the inner critic have the final word. Self-love practice daily requires us to slow down and listen deeply to what we need, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It means tuning into your body when it's tired, your heart when it's hurting, and your mind when it's overwhelmed. It's about recognizing that your needs matter, that your feelings are valid, and that taking care of yourself is not selfish but necessary. When you make self-love a habit, you build a foundation of respect and trust within yourself. Daily self-love also includes setting boundaries that protect your energy and well-being. It means saying no when something doesn't serve you and yes to what nourishes your soul. It's learning to prioritize your peace and joy even when external pressures push you to do otherwise. This is how self-love becomes a powerful form of self-respect, teaching those around you how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Another vital part of this practice is celebrating your small wins and progress. Too often we overlook our growth because it doesn't look like perfection or grand success. But self-love invites you to acknowledge every step forward, every effort made, every moment of resilience. These moments accumulate and create a powerful momentum toward greater confidence and fulfillment. Importantly, making self-love a daily practice means embracing compassion during setbacks. It's about meeting yourself with kindness when you fail to meet your own expectations or when you feel lost. Instead of spiraling into self-criticism, self-love offers a steady hand, a whisper of encouragement, and a reminder that you are worthy of care always. Over time, this daily practice rewires your brain and heart. It builds resilience against external judgment and internal doubt. It strengthens your sense of belonging, not just to others, but to yourself. When self-love becomes a habit, it creates a wellspring of inner strength from which you can face life's challenges with grace and courage. In essence, self-love is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. By committing to it daily, you cultivate a deep, unshakable foundation of worthiness and compassion. You learn to be your own sanctuary, your own source of light and strength, no matter what storms may come. So, start today. Talk kindly to yourself, honor your needs, set your boundaries, celebrate your progress, and hold yourself gently through the hard times. Make self-love your daily practice and watch how it transforms your relationship with yourself and the world. As we come to the end of this conversation, remember this: the way you talk to yourself matters more than you might realize. It shapes how you feel, how you act, and ultimately who you become. By choosing kindness, empathy, and honesty in your inner dialogue for just 3 days, you begin a profound shift. You give yourself permission to embrace imperfection, to be vulnerable, and to replace shame with understanding. You learn that self-love isn't a luxury, but a daily practice that builds resilience and nurtures your soul. This journey isn't about perfection or quick fixes. It's about showing up for yourself with courage and compassion day after day, because when you talk to yourself like you truly deserve, like a friend, like a beloved, you awaken the strongest ally you'll ever have, yourself. And with that ally by your side, there's no limit to the growth, healing, and wholehearted living you can create. So start today. Speak to yourself with kindness. Hold your struggles gently. Celebrate your progress, and watch how in just 3 days your relationship with yourself begins to transform, and with it, your entire life. Thank you.